Welcome to Conscious Living Collective, transformative journey in consciousness with a community of like-minded people. That is you. My name is Tomek. I'm a scientist, teacher here on Inside Timer, and transformation coach. In this live session, we blend the latest in scientific research, the deep wisdom of mindfulness, and the art of fulfilled living. As always, this is a genuine invitation for you to have your own direct first-hand experience and emerge on the other side with a renewed sense of purpose and well-being. Hello, hello, hello. I am so glad to be here, and I am so glad to see you all here, all the wonderful familiar faces. As always, I want to begin by acknowledging also supportive members of my patron program. Hello, Seth. Hello, Anne. Hello, Austin. Hello, V. Hello, Mary. Did I miss someone? I'm looking at the icons at the moment. I don't even need to see the comment section. So very glad to see you here. Thank you for your presence. That is also supportive. And also all the regulars who join today. Hello, Anne. Kurti, I saw you meditating with my recordings. Glad to see you here. I hope you will have a good experience today. As many of you know, I just returned. Hello, Karen. As many of you may know, I just returned from my kind of a vacation, but I think I would call it a retreat. And the reason for that was to have a break from a normal routine and kind of come back to the center. And hello, Carmela. Very good to see you here. Another wonderful patron of mine. The reason for that was to come back to the center. And as a result, I decided to start this new season, so to speak. It's the first day of winter here in Australia, with the session on healing, but not only on healing, we spoke about it a lot, but mostly connected with how healing is reflected in our balance and what actually balance means. And let me begin by sharing a story that reflects my trip. So I went to Bali, and I knew exactly what I am going to do and where I'm going to stay, what I'm going to do, about my routine. And I was really looking forward to it. It was, like I said, a form of a retreat, self-reflection. I went on my own. I didn't really look forward to be very social outside of my volleyball community and doing my usual things. And then what happened, I got very excited and didn't take into account a couple of things as my tiredness. So I jumped into my routine, and very quickly it turned out that together the trip and the commute and the massive traffic that you experience on the island because of the influx of tourists, I think I really forgot about immune system and capacity of our immune system. As a result, I developed something very mild, something very minor, which is a cold sore. But it turns out that the cold sore, the virus that is called by the cold sore, can affect also a nerve that goes along your nerve that connects your hearing with the rest of your body. So cold sore was the one thing, but I also started experiencing this very strong pulsating pain in my left ear. And I just came into those waves, and it made me cringe every single time and affected my sleep. And all those plans to really do, and again, this is a minor interruption. I'm not talking, it's nothing major, but it was enough to kind of bring me to understanding how being what it means to be, first of all, in balance, and how quickly we go off center. And when we are off center, everything kind of gets derailed. And this is the reason. And eventually, within few days, I recovered. And I take it always, all those kind of minor interruptions, I take as a lesson or reminder what is happening in my life. And this is something I want to share with you today, because we consider health and healing as usually in the form of our physical health. So we think, okay, as long as I'm healthy, as my body is healthy, everything goes all right. But the truth is that my quote unquote trouble or my distress did not start with physical health. It started with the kind of fiery nature of my intention. I stopped paying to the subtle signals that my body started offering me. And as a result, I went off center and off balance that resulted with a stronger reminder that has been sent to me in a form of pain and discomfort and lack of sleep and so on and so forth. And something I want to share with you today, which is, I'd say, combination of science and ancient knowledge, is this. Our health and our being here in this incarnation is, we can treat it as a sort of microcosm. And I want you to feel into it, what I'm saying. Maybe there is some visceral response of your body and your thoughts to what I'm saying. And I want you to really be mindful of what is happening right now. So this microcosm, which includes our body, it's a reflection of all the laws that created, that are beyond just our physical body, but include entire planet, all the living and organic and inorganic beings and things. And these are governed by certain laws, and scientists has been trying to discover these laws. It's basically center point of science, to understand how things work and where they come from and so on and so forth. And that's why this is interesting to me as a scientist. But ultimately, what I want to come back to, reflecting on the universal laws, how they affect the microcosm of our body, but not our body only as a physical being, but our body as a physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual ecosystem. I want to use this word for that. And this ecosystem, as you can imagine, and feel free to tune in. Let's not make it abstract. Let's make it concrete. Tune into yourself and see, how is your ecosystem functioning right now? How is the state of your, not really health, but how is the state of your balance? Because that ecosystem, as we learn, it's not something static, but something very dynamic. And I want to include the kind of ancient understanding of that microcosm, that before science started tapping into certain functions of the body and how things work and the equations, we had this understanding that the microcosm consists of 4 elements: fire, water, air, and earth. Fire, water, and earth. Right? That was the understanding that we evolved into, those elements that we are created out of, but also elements that we are part of. And this is the second part. After you check in with yourself and like how you feel right now, see, and this is very intuitive. Again, it's not scientific, it's intuitive. I'm inviting you to feel into yourself when I say fire, water, air, and earth. Is any of those ancient elements who are, as we know it, the understanding it's that understanding of the connection with elements, it's kind of built in within us. If you start thinking about it scientifically, well, there's no fire really, actual fire in on you or in you, although I could make a comment about that in more scientific way. So I'm asking you more kind of sense of what it feels. How do you feel right now? More like fire, like water, like air, like earth. And let's start here. And I want to invite you actually to share how you feel right now, the balance of elements in your body, if there's any dominant element in the form of icons. This is a fun part. So if you have a chance, I show you. So say if you type an emoji of fire, it will look something like that. Okay. If you type emoji of water, hold on. Water, something like that. Oh, there we go. Austin already figured it out. It's fantastic. Oh yeah, thank you so much. And there is okay. So I apparently I don't have to show you. You know better than me. I don't use that many emojis. Oh, fantastic. So I only show the fire and water, but you can do the same with earth, and you can do the same with air. Okay, Kurti, fire and earth. Kara, fire and earth. Hello, Maureen. Maureen, air. Jay of air and earth. Karen, earth. Fantastic. We are married, earth. I really appreciate your feedback on this one. And V, earth. Susie, water. Evie, water and air. I'm sorry. And if any of you have maybe a sense of how does it resonate with you when I say that? Is it easy to feel into it? And can give me thumbs up or thumbs down in whichever way. When I say words like that, fire, earth, water, air, fire, water, air, and earth. When I say those things, is it easy to kind of tune in and connect it within yourself? Yeah, I think it is. I was told by two wise women who's been working in the wellness space, and they are healers and absolute wonderful beings, human beings, that my beard, my red beard, is a representation of my fiery nature. And when they said that, almost instantaneously, it made complete sense to me. And even though I'm a scientist and I really appreciate my intellect and I use my intellect a lot, this intuitive knowledge that literally sent a lightning through my body was so much more informative than any kind of conclusion that came through the intellect. So this intellectual knowledge that it's kind of ancient knowledge that is within you that I want to evoke. This is very often much more important than the intellectual knowledge and words I say during Conscious Living Collective and the way I communicate with you, which is mostly through words. So thank you so much for doing that. And obviously, as I said, that science started figuring out this kind of ancient intuitive knowledge and putting it into the framework of today's understanding of of neuroscience, of behavioral science, of psychology. And I want to share with you also that part. And I'd be curious to know if what's the resonance with this scientific part of it. So first of all, I want to translate the words of earth, fire, fire, water, that are obviously the kind of opposites, air that connects the fire and water, and earth that's the grounding for everything. I want to connect with a few words and let me know if that makes also sense, if these words will somehow represent the icon or the element that you resonate with. So I'm going to relate to the excess of those elements. So excess fire may feel like wired, tense, driven, again, fire, or excess fire. Wired, tense, driven. Again, feel free to give thumbs up or simply reflect to yourself. Excess water, flooded, said, depleted. Flooded, said, depleted. Excess earth. Mental loops. I can already raise my hand here. Disconnected from the body. Interesting one. Excess air, when we are too airy, it may feel like feeling disconnected from your body. And excess earth, heaviness, feeling stuck and unable to move. Any resonance with the words that are reflected in that balance? Yeah. Curtis says excess air is also anxiety. Jay, Evie, Austin. Yeah. Good. Wonderful. So we moving from the intuitive to a bit cognitive, and for those of you who joined a bit later, I want to bring it right back to why we're doing it, because we try to figure it out whether how we feel, it's a reflection of the balance. And balance that comes from the microcosm, that is a dynamic system that interacts with the external environment, with the nature, with people around you, and so on and so forth. And speaking of healing, and my personal healing and how I experienced it, I want to maybe get a feedback from you on this one, how it works in your life. The healing can only occur if that dynamic equilibrium is present. It's not enough that you're physically healthy. It's not enough that you only meditate and you can sit for 20 minutes and can rest in awareness. It's not enough that you can manage your emotions and be emotionally intelligent. And it's not enough that you feel grounded. All of these elements are important if we want to facilitate the healing. If healing in our body is to occur. So according to ancient traditions, it's not about being either fiery or airy or earthy or watery. It's about moving those elements through your life in a way that offers you the best understanding. And again, it feels like a flow. And now I want to add the third layer to it. And this is the layer, obviously, that I am familiar the most because of the scientific nature of my teachings and how I connect the kind of spiritual aspects and spiritual understanding with the scientific understanding. But personally, the reason I share that with you, because it helped me tremendously to make much more sense connect the intellect of mind that is, I would say, in excess, with kind of the balance that comes from the intuitive and grounding sense of my body as it is. So moving between head and the base and the chest and so on and so forth. So according to that, if you wanted to start translating, that's what science does. And I think science wouldn't, if I go to the university and start talking about fire, water, air, and earth elements and start connecting them, I think it wouldn't be widely accepted. But because you are my audience and my job is actually to make sense that goes beyond the scientific understanding, I'm doing that in front of you, kind of making sense of it to you and to myself. And I would love your feedback on this one. What do you think about it? So the fire element, as scientifically we understand, is represented by sympathetic nervous system. And I speak about SNS, sympathetic nervous system, a lot, because this is the system that represents the overload, the burnout, the inflammation, rage, chronic stress, right? We talk about the sympathetic nervous system activation, that it's too much fire in you, okay? You are continuously on, and that leads to burnout, right? Burnout, right? It's burning out. That's why the fire element, how interesting that the words actually start making more sense. So sympathetic nervous system, we know when your sympathetic nervous system is in overdrive, we feel those old sensations. And again, this is the translation into the modern science that we understand. Also, another word that I used in the past is maybe not as commonly used is the system that is very well researched. It's called hypothalamic pituitary at adrenal axis. This is the axis of activation in our body that is responsible for secretion these very important hormones like cortisol, adrenaline, dopamine. Does it make sense? Fire, sympathetic nervous system, will, and if in excess, if it's too much of it, is it imbalanced, it leads to burnout, inflammation, rage, chronic stress. Any response to that? And yes, wired and driven is Monday here. Seth, reflecting on the water. Yes, flooded, overwhelmed, and depleted, unable to meet the demands of my circumstances. Mm-hmm. All right, Evie resonates. That's wonderful. So again, fire, sympathetic nervous system. Again, we go on overdrive. Very frequently in the case where your sympathetic nervous system is overactivated, we talk about fight-flight response, right? Fight, flight, and freeze. That's how we feel, right? And now the water element, remember that fire and water are kind of the opposites, the way you understand it historically, right? Water extinguishes fire, and fire, it's burning. So if fire is sympathetic nervous system in our understanding, then water is going to be parasympathetic nervous system. Because remember that in the microcosm of your body, that again, it relies on the balance and homeostasis. There's always activation and deactivation. So if sympathetic nervous system, it's activating, the parasympathetic nervous system is calming you down, right? It's the rest and digest. If you in the parasympathetic mode, the feelings of empathy, emotional flow, rest, connection, they are present. But if in the same way as sympathetic nervous system go in overdrive, also parasympathetic nervous system can go into overdrive, can be can be imbalanced by the SNS. And then what happens is you do feel that flooding. You feel, again, water, depression, numbness, somatic illness. There's something in your body that is not right. Do you resonate with that? Anyone who can say that may feel those emotions, the depression or numbness? That would indicate the imbalance in your parasympathetic nervous system. It means that your parasympathetic nervous system is in overdrive. Again, we're not saying that SNS is good, PNS is bad. We're saying about the balance. Health is the balance. It's not either or. It's all of them flowing, right? That supports the healing. Yeah. Yeah, it's really fascinating to me how these operate. So now air. Air, if when you translate it into the language of modern science, is cognition and meaning. It's definitely the headspace. And that is represented in our body by what? Default mode network, which I spoke about so many times because it's a fascinating topic. Is the system within our brain that is responsible for thinking, for projecting. It's continuously on. For those of us who are familiar with the mental loops, that's where the DMN, default mode network, goes into overdrive. And how, when the air element is in excess, how does it feel? And again, I would love to hear from you whether you resonate with that. Rumination, dissociation, overthinking. I immediately raise my hand here. It makes so much sense to me. There's too much air in me, right? Too much air. As a matter of fact, too much fire that is not balanced by water. I very much more resonate personally with overdrive, with activation of sympathetic nervous system rather than being balanced with parasympathetic nervous system. Curti, panic. Yeah. The idea, Austin, on the point, the idea of addiction has been living in that space. Thought and desire. I would say, and that's very much something that comes to me, the addiction would be a combination, excess of fire and air. What do you think about that? It's a theory, right? The fiery nature and the overthinking and overdrive. Yeah? Cool. Joanne, major anxiety. Lisa, ungrounded. So you see, it's fascinating to me how we can combine the intuitive sense with the current knowledge, and how this combination, how powerful this is. This become, in a sense, my way to speak to you and my way to understand life as it is, not bringing either science or intuition, but bringing them both. Bring the ancient understanding and the current understanding. Each element in excess causes imbalance, but when you bring them together, that's a powerful mixture, don't you think? Okay, let us continue. We have only one element left, but there's another. It's not element, but it's something that brings them all together, which I will speak in a second. But the last element is earth. An earth element is represented in science by interoception. Remember how we always, in every meditation, and today's session is no different, when we start meditating, I will ask you to go within, to switch off or dim your physical senses of, you close your eyes, or close your vision. From the external sounds, I will ask you to listen to music and my words, senses of smell and taste, they hardly ever present, but I will not ask you to focus on them either. And the sense of touch will diminish, right? We gone inside. Interoception is the perception, inner perception of your body, but also of that microcosm that we talk about. It's beyond just inner sensing. So earth is interoception and physical homeostasis. That resonates with me very much. It's like I'm grounded, stable, homeostasis. And again, the health expressions are of that groundedness, embodiment, stability, presence. And on the contrary, when the earth element is imbalanced, we feel it as rigidity, heaviness. Spiritual bypassing apparently is also related to that, which is very interesting to me. So we have 4 elements that are intersecting each other. It's a continuous balancing act. And the last one, before we meditate, something I want to bring because this is a big part of our meditation. These elements never appear in your body in a vacuum. All of these elements are operating within the field of consciousness, right? That witness, that part field from which all the elements come from. This is the place, this is the healing. We can observe the unfolding of the elements within the aspect of our microcosm, which is physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual. We can observe that as it unfolds from the consciousness that we are. And this is perhaps the most fascinating and practical motivation to me to go within. To, again, almost it redefines the definition, it redefines meditation to me, because meditation is no longer, I try to feel better or it is. No, I try to observe on the level of elements, the play between the elements that are happening in the present moment. It can only happen in the present moment. And this brings another importance of why we want to be in the present moment, because that balance does not happen in the past, not in the future, is only it's a characteristic of the present moment. And that's why we are invited to be present, not because it's good, not because that's the only point, now it's the only time where we can observe playfulness of this balance of elements, or interaction of the elemental elements within microcosm of our experience in the canvas of our awareness, within the consciousness. Yeah. So this is something so important to me, and gives me so much motivation to pay attention, to be present, to be in the now, because this is the only time where we can observe that. When we look in the past, that's rumination, that's out of balance. When we look too much in the future, that's also out of balance. Let me remind you that human beings, and perhaps higher mammals like whales and dolphins, have ability of moving into the past and projecting to the future in the way that all species are designed. Default state is the of now. I was looking at the dogs and I was wondering how the dogs can just sleep and just be and don't move. The same applies to cats. For me, it would be so boring, because I am driven by what happened in the past, and I'm projecting the future, and I'm becoming anxious, becoming out of balance. But cats and dogs and other animals, apparently so as well, they're always in the present moment. They're always in balance. And there are only the short periods when they get out of balance, they come back. Eckhart Tolle talks a lot about this observation of his when he saw ducks in the pond, and the ducks get into the fight, and the feathers fly, and there is a commotion, and a lot of this happening. That's the imbalance point. That's where the flow happens. But that immediately after, they shake off and swim apart, and they back to what they were, back to the center. With us humans, this is very difficult because our cognitive capacities. We use our cognition you use it in a way that includes or invites imbalance in our life, don't you think? Maybe I'm projecting right now because that's how it works in my life. Evie said, I think a lot of us worked for years in healthcare, learned to ignore our own needs arisen from these elements in favor of always meeting the needs of others. Hence, in the end, so many get burned out or sick physically or mentally. That makes so much sense. That makes so much sense. As a health professional, I think almost it's a quality of any health professional to develop ability of observing those elements and work in others. And obviously, it's so easy to forget about how the same principle works for yourself, isn't it? And that's the lack of balance. That's why healing cannot happen. And Evie's perspective is so valuable. I had a pleasure and privilege be invited, offering a meditation to a group of nurses. There was an incredible someone who meditated with me and sent me a wonderful comment, and I feel compelled to offer a session to what it turns out to be a group of nurses working really hard in that healthcare system. And they were sharing the very thing that Evie said, that they feel burned out and mentally unstable because the entire attention, which is the mental currency that we have, was going outwards towards observing and managing the elemental work of others, and completely forgetting about the elemental work that happens within you simultaneously. Okay? Yeah, Kurti also says, yes, we leave too much in the mind. So this is perhaps a good point. We are 40 minutes in. Do you have any other questions, maybe, or comments with respect to what we're discussing here before we jump into meditation? And as you type that in the comment section, I just want to say this is the discussion part of Conscious Living Collective always leads into meditation. So we know why behind that meditative part. We want to bring both intellect and intuition together as a powerful combo to move into the experiential part where, because of the understanding what is happening within that interoception part, I want to hope it makes it more valuable, more powerful, more transformative for you, and ultimately take you on the other side, as I always say in the introduction, give you a renewed sense of purpose and well-being. Kurti, the discussion of 4 elements you mentioned is discussed in Ayurveda, 5,000-year-old Indian science of life. That's one of the aspects I'm referring to. Exactly. Before the science, as we recognize it, there was Ayurveda, which is another scientific approach, but again, without a microscope and without magnifying glass. It was more intuitive, which doesn't make it any less, and this is my point as a scientist, which doesn't make it any less valid. something that modern science denies. The power of intuition as a scientific tool. It denies that. That's why I have a problem with the scientific approach these days. That's why I say what I say right now. Kathleen, I had the same experience as a public school elementary teacher, become so ill I had to leave. Thank you for sharing that, Kathleen. Yeah, this is, I think, a very common experience of being out of balance for so long that eventually our health, again, our physical health, which is at the intersection of mental, emotional, and spiritual elements, that's where it becomes difficult. Okay, let's go. Let's see how all this knowledge, both intuitive and intellectual, translate into your inner experience. I want to guide you into let's use the word meditation, although I feel less and less comfortable using the word because I think it does not encapsulate what we're really doing here, because it has the collective aspect of it that it's so valuable. But let's say meditation. Let's move into meditation and allow me to guide you so you can personally experience and observe the nature of playful interaction of the elements within you in this very moment. And as always, we'll be accompanied by also soothing music by Peter Helland and his Forest Whisper. Are you ready? Okay. Wonderful. I switch to the meditation screen. Begin this meditation by recognizing the state of the balance within your body. Feel into the intuitive sense of how things are. Just for a moment, allow yourself to be as you are, putting all the adjectives that your mind tries to produce to describe how you are, and simply feel how you are. Those adjectives are very often a very poor description of the actual canvas of your current experience. So right here, right now, together, in the field of consciousness from which everything flows, feel for yourself. What is the current state of the balance within you? See if the elemental words of fire, water, air, earth. Bring something forth in your experience. Again, this is not trying to understand it, but allow the experience come forth in the canvas of your awareness. And the message to your mind: whatever comes forth is valid. Everything that comes forth is important to you personally. It is a reflection of your current experience. It is a reflection of your current elemental balance that we understand scientifically as the works of your nervous system, parasympathetic branch, sympathetic branch, your endocrine system, your circulatory system. All these parts contributing to the current state and see for yourself if that feels to you as balanced, or perhaps slightly off. Recognize this is not a static state, but a dynamic equilibrium that you observe happening in front of your conscious awareness right now. If any of the aspects feels out of equilibrium, in disharmony, the easiest way to allow it to balance is to come back to the witness awareness, because the equilibrium comes from the awareness, and that's why witnessing what is happening without interacting, without adding fire, water, earth, air to it, allows it to balance it. Every system is designed to come back to homeostasis, to balance, once allowed to do so. And the best way to get there is to simply watch it without excessive interaction. That's why we sit here observing. This mechanism at work. And my job in this very moment is to hold this space for you. Not to tell you what to do and how to do it. Simply stand by your side. And I will bring you back when the time of this exploration and witnessing is over. And now, shift with the same quality of awareness from interoception back towards your physical senses, starting with field of vision. See how expansive the vision in front of your closed eyes can be if it comes from the deep field of awareness that whatever happens is valid, it's interesting. Shift towards the sound. Wonderful music that is designed to soothe what it means to you in this moment. When you isolate the sense and your awareness and move it towards your hearing. Now, for a brief moment, shift towards senses of smell and taste. Simply recognizing they are present, even if they don't deliver too much input into awareness in this moment. And finally, embrace the sense of touch that defines your body through its boundaries, through its connection to the space around you. Feel that connection, the freshness and newness of that experience that it's so often missed. With fresh awareness comes fresh understanding and fresh appreciation. So simply allow yourself to be with all the senses engaged, redefining physical reality around you, giving it new vibrancy, new vitality. And finally, before we conclude, express your gratitude that whatever you did is possible, and that you always have access to both this understanding and this experience, and you can take it further to heal, to live, to transform. And now let us conclude with a deep cleansing breath in through your nose and out through your mouth. And when ready, open your eyes and welcome back. Thank you so much for meditating with me. Thank you so much for co-creating the space. It was certainly a unique experience. The discussion we had and understanding that we gained makes a difference. At least that's my hope. But without projecting, maybe in one word, describe how you feel right now. what is the word that would describe your current understanding and current experience and this state of balance? You can use either word, or you can use, as you guys did before, use an icon or emoji of that. Lisa, gratitude. Kathleen, thankful. Thank you, Karen. Thank you, Carmela. Very generous, very, very kind. Curti, calm. Calmness is, and freshness of appreciation is kind of a default state when coming out of meditation. For some, I can understand this can bring a lot of emotional material. That's possible too. So if that happens, stay with it. It comes. It's part of the cleansing, part of the healing, I'd say. Mary, balanced. I love the emojis, yes. Picture for 1,000 words. An emoji maybe for like 100. Susie supported. Thank you so much. I'm so glad that you are here, Susie. Thank you for your presence. Thank you for your support. Always good to see you here. Jay is resting. Karen is the emoji of, I try to reproduce it. Amazing. Austin. I can feel you. I do not dare to translate the emoji of a bridging whale, but yeah, okay. And fantastic. Carmela, insightful. Kathleen, it's my genuine pleasure. This is my purpose. That's why I fulfill myself. It's truly joyful experience. So thank you for supporting me by your presence. It really helps. Yeah. Okay. If no more questions or comments, I would like to bring our session to an end. Joanne Sunshine. And once again, thank you for being here with me, for listening and for filling into yourself and coming to that field of consciousness together. I think there's almost 100 of us to now, and I believe there is a significant power when we choose to tune in. We do not always, certainly not intellectually, understand the power of it, but there is power there, and this is my continuous affirmation of Conscious Living Collective in your presence. You might not understand, but you make a difference. The change, you are the change in the world. That happens. Does not happen by launching missiles and by force and power. It happens by changing your mind, so to speak. Thank you, Seth. Thank you, Curti. Thank you, Karen. Have a wonderful week, everyone, and I look forward to seeing you next week. Stay tuned. Go to my profile, and you can find all the information there. If you follow me there, you most likely are to receive notifications about upcoming events. We are gathering here every week. At least that's my intention. And yeah, check all the free material that always leads you towards balance and better understanding of yourself. Plentiful that I created over many, many years. Feel free to use it. It is at your disposal. Thank you, Austin. All right. Have a wonderful day. Pleasant night wherever you are. And I look forward to seeing you next. And I will leave you with Peter Helland and his Forest Whisper. Until next time.